You know, usually when we evaluate a new software rollout, we just, rely on the people using it to tell us how it's going.
Right, you just send out a survey.
Exactly, you deploy a new tool, survey the team, and they say, oh yeah, I'm flying through my work. I'm easily 20% faster,
Yeah, and everyone celebrates.
right? And if you are a business leader, which, if you're listening to this right now, you likely are, you probably take that 20%, put it on a nice slide, and present it to your board.
Of course, that's just standard practice.
But imagine finding out that while your team honestly felt 20% faster, the reality was they were actually taking 19% longer to finish their tasks.
I mean, it sounds like a joke, but that is a real documented phenomenon.
And it exposes a massive liability. Looking through our stack of sources today, so we've got Trustive's V6, Zero System Edition white papers, their token drafts, and their knowledge base. This is exactly the trap companies are falling into right now.
Yeah, we are basically running an entire AI economy on gut feelings. Yeah.
Exactly. So, our mission for today's deep dive is to give you a practical, actionable guide on how to implement the Trustive Enterprise Pilot Program so you can measure your AI gains safely and, mathematically.
Because you really have to.
You do. Because that 19% slower metric, that actually came from a 2025 randomized controlled trial by METR. They were looking at experienced developers using AI tools.
Yeah, their perception just completely diverged from reality.
It's like trying to navigate a ship using a compass that's influenced by, how much the captain just wants to go north.
What's fascinating here is that we have this profound technological shift, right? But our measurement tools are completely subjective.
Right?
And Trustive is proposing a structural shift. They are saying we need to treat AI productivity the exact same way we treat financial revenue.
Which means you can't just guess.
Exactly. It cannot just be claimed on a quick survey. It has to be audited, quality adjusted, and independently verified.
But to be fair, AI isn't just making everyone slower. There's another study in the sources, the Brynjolfsson study of over 5,000 customer support agents.
Right, the staggered rollout one.
Yeah, and they found a very real, measurable 15% gain in issues resolved per hour.
Exactly. So the takeaway isn't that AI is inherently bad or good. The takeaway is that the gains are highly, workflow specific.
You just cannot guess.
You really can't. Which is why Trustive introduces what they call their first product, which is the pilot program.
Right.
Instead of trying to measure an entire global corporation all at once, the pilot is an 8 to 12 week fixed fee program focused on just one or two highly instrumented workflows.
So we're talking about specific repeatable tasks like contact center case handling.
Yeah, or like insurance claims triage, just very contained.
Okay, let's unpack this because I have to push back here.
Yeah, sure.
If I'm a business leader, I'm spending millions on AI licenses across my entire enterprise.
Go on.
I want to see how AI transforms my whole company, not just, one isolated support desk.
Right.
Why would I start so narrow? It feels like I'd be under-delivering to my board.
It is a totally valid concern, but starting there is actually the fastest possible route to independent proof.
How so?
Well, if you start too broad, you just get bogged down in departments that simply do not have good data yet. You spend months just trying to figure out what people actually do all day.
Oh, right. Because not every department is tracked the same way.
Exactly. By choosing an anchor workflow that is already well instrumented, an enterprise can test Trustive simulation mode first.
Wait, simulation mode? What does that do?
Think of it as, a pre-pilot readiness estimate. You feed it historical data, and it grades your data quality without issuing any actual benefit records.
So it's a dry run?
Basically, yeah. It lets a business see exactly where their blind spots are. Are your timestamps accurate? Is your data actually clean?
Right.
You get to see if your infrastructure can actually handle deterministic measurement before you commit to the full cycle of baselining and verification.
Okay, that makes total sense. You prove the methodology works, where the light is brightest, test the plumbing with the simulation, and then scale it up.
Exactly.
But that leads us into a massive concern. If we lock in on a workflow and start measuring exactly how fast someone is working, it can very quickly feel like employee surveillance.
Oh, absolutely.
I do not want to be tracking every single keystroke my team makes. That's toxic.
And Trustive is very explicit that this is an assurance tool, not a surveillance tool.
How do they separate the two?
To prevent that big brother dynamic, they use an instrumentation grading scale from L0 to L3. L0 is pure self-reporting, which Trustive just completely rejects.
They won't even certify it.
No, they won't. L3, on the other hand, is a fully instrumented workflow with end-to-end timestamps generated by the system, not the user.
Okay.
And to get this data safely, Trustive uses a library of pre-built, read-only connectors for ecosystems like, Salesforce, Jira, or GitHub.
And wait, in the white papers, it mentions that employee data is, quote, pseudonymized at ingestion using keyed hashing. That sounds incredibly dense. If I am explaining this to my Chief Information Security Officer, what does that actually mean in plain English?
Yeah, it's a crucial security step. Think of keyed hashing like a cryptographic code check.
A code check?
Yeah, when employee data enters the Trustive measurement engine, the system takes the employee's name, swaps it for a random ticket number, and throws away the key.
Oh, wow, so they can't reverse it.
Exactly. The engine only ever sees those opaque ticket numbers. It never sees employee names, and it never sees the private content of the emails or, the code they are writing.
That's brilliant.
Furthermore, there is zero write access to your source systems, and every single connector goes through a strict data protection impact assessment.
All right, so I have the code check system in place. My data is safe. The next step in the pilot is locking the baseline, right?
Yes.
From my understanding, this is essentially capturing exactly how long a task took before AI was introduced and cryptographically locking it so it cannot be secretly altered later.
That's spot on.
It's like establishing a scientific control group, but here is where I get stuck. Business is not a static laboratory.
No, it's not.
Say I baseline an insurance claims team in October, but in November, a massive hurricane hits, and the claims they are processing become infinitely more complex.
Right, the work changes.
Doesn't that locked baseline immediately go stale because the environment shifted?
That is precisely the vulnerability in traditional productivity measurement. If you do not account for the environment, the AI looks like a failure because cases are suddenly taking way longer.
Yeah, exactly. So how do they fix that?
Trustive handles this by introducing baseline drift monitors.
The
The engine continuously tracks covariates,
covariates. Like what?
things like the volume mix, the complexity of the cases, or even staffing tenure. If those metrics drift beyond a certain threshold, like your hurricane example, it flags the workflow and mathematically forces a recalibration.
Oh, I see.
So you are always comparing apples to apples.
But why wait for a trigger? Why not just program the baseline to automatically decay a little bit every month to account for, general business improvements over time?
Because an automatic decay function is a massive gaming risk.
Really? How?
Well, imagine you just automatically drop the baseline time every month. That decaying baseline mechanically enlarges the gap between the old way of working and the new AI way.
Oh, I get it. It artificially inflates your savings over time without the AI actually doing anything better.
Exactly. By relying on drift monitors and requiring formal, independent verifier sign-off for any recalibration, Trustive ensures the baseline remains an honest reflection of reality.
Okay, so we've locked the math on speed and we've prevented the system from being gamed.
Right.
But speed is only half the equation, right? If my customer support agent is suddenly twice as fast because of AI, but the AI is hallucinating policy details and making twice as many errors, my company is actually losing money.
Fast but wrong is a disaster.
It really is.
Precisely. Speed that degrades quality is negative value, and this is why the Trustive pilot enforces a strict quality gate before any productivity savings are even calculated, let alone verified.
Okay, how does the gate work?
They use what is called a quality factor, or QF, which is a multiplier from 0 to 1. It factors in accuracy, rework rates, and customer impact scores.
And the sources highlight these hard flaws within the quality gate, which I think are just brilliant.
They are very necessary.
Like, if an AI tool makes your team 30% faster, but it causes a compliance breach, say it mishandles sensitive patient data, that isn't just a minor deduction on your score.
No, not at all.
The hard flaw is triggered, the quality factor drops to absolute 0, and the entire productivity claim is wiped out. Fast but unsafe automation yields literally 0 benefit in this system.
Right, and once you have that safe, quality-adjusted number, it is categorized into confidence tiers to show how statistically reliable the gain is.
So, what are the tiers?
Well, Tier A is for that highly repeatable, fully instrumented work, where you can get a very tight, undeniable confidence interval.
Okay.
Tier B is for semi-structured knowledge work. Think software engineering or complex casework. Here, Trustive uses causal inference designs, like difference in differences, to figure out what would have happened without AI.
Let me stop you there, because difference in differences is one of those terms that makes business leaders' eyes glaze over.
Fair enough.
Basically, it's like testing a new fertilizer on half of your garden. If it rains all week, both halves of the garden grow faster. Difference in differences mathematically strips out the rain, so you only measure the exact boost the fertilizer gave.
That is a perfect analogy.
In this case, Trustive is mathematically stripping out market shifts or seasonal trends to find the pure AI boost, right?
Exactly. You are isolating the treatment effect. And critically, for Tier B, Trustive only ever issues benefits based on the lower bound of that confidence interval.
They don't use the average.
No, they never use the most optimistic point estimate. They use the most conservative number they can mathematically prove.
Got it? And then there's Tier C, which is strictly directional. It's for exploratory or creative work where you really can't create a clean counterfactual.
Right, so it cannot be used to issue any actual financial benefits.
But here's where it gets really interesting to me. The V6 Zero White Paper introduces something called Provisional Tier B. What is the use case for that?
The Provisional Tier B is a fascinating addition for fast-changing dynamic teams, where traditional causal designs might be unstable.
Like who?
Think of a rapidly scaling engineering group, where the baseline is moving every single week. Trustive allows these workflows to be measured using advanced statistical models, like Bayesian structural time series.
So, Bayesian time series basically gives these fast-verting teams a safe sandbox.
Exactly.
Management can see these provisional speed-ups on their dashboards, but they are completely walled off from triggering any actual financial payouts until the data is rock solid and the uncertainty drops.
It gives them runway to experiment safely. It provides visibility without financial liability.
But wait, hold on. We are talking about using advanced modeling, and earlier we talked about AI tools. If we are using AI to measure the AI, aren't we just introducing more hallucinations into the math?
That's a huge risk.
Yeah. How can I trust an AI auditor?
You shouldn't. And that is why Trustive draws what they call the determinism boundary.
What's that?
They keep machine learning entirely out of the actual arithmetic. The final calculation of saved hours is pure deterministic math.
But they do use AI somewhere in the pipeline, right?
No, they do use LLMs for tedious tasks, like classifying the exception types or drafting notes. But an AI model is only allowed to auto-label data if it hits a very strict inter-rater agreement threshold against human reviewers.
Okay, what's the threshold?
specifically a Cohen's kappa of 80 or higher.
Wait, you just lost me with Cohen's kappa.
Oh, sorry.
If we're telling business leaders to keep AI out of the math, what does that metric actually do to protect my final number?
Cohen's kappa is simply a statistical measure of agreement that accounts for guessing.
Okay.
A score of 80 means the AI and the human experts are making the exact same complex classification decisions almost perfectly, far beyond random chance.
Oh, I see.
If the AI cannot hit that 280 threshold, it is not allowed to touch the data pipeline. It gets kicked out and humans take over.
That makes a lot of sense.
This ensures the final ROI number isn't a machine's best guess. It is deterministic, meaning an independent human auditor can sit down with a calculator, run the raw data, and arrive at the exact same number.
Okay, so the math is pure. The AI isn't hallucinating the ROI. But if I'm a skeptical employee or, an outside regulator, pure math doesn't mean anything if it's being graded by the company's own management.
Right, there's a conflict of interest.
How does Trustive prevent the enterprise from just cooking the books and certifying their own homework?
They solve what is known as the captured auditor problem.
Captured auditor?
Normally, a company pays an auditing firm directly. That creates an implicit financial pressure on the auditor to approve the numbers, so they keep getting hired.
Because they want the repeat business.
Exactly. Trustive breaks that dynamic by using an independent non-profit assurance foundation.
So the enterprise pays a verification fee into a blind escrow account held by the foundation.
Yes.
The foundation then randomly assigns an accredited verifier to the pilot, and that verifier gets paid the exact same amount from the escrow account, regardless of whether they approve, adjust, or completely reject the company's productivity claim.
It structurally removes the incentive to please a client. The auditor only cares about the math.
That's a really elegant solution.
It is. And they scale this intelligently, using risk-based verification levels from V1 to V4.
How do those work?
A low-risk, highly standardized workflow might lean heavily on V1 automated pre-checks, but any claim that is eligible to actually issue benefits to workers automatically requires V3.
Which means a human looks at it.
Yes, V3 is full, independent rederivation from the raw data by that human verifier.
So the verifier signs off, the gain is real. Now we get to the human dividend, which is really the ultimate point of all this measurement.
It's the payoff.
What actually happens to those verified saved hours? The sources state that the enterprise keeps the vast majority of the productivity, usually 60 to 80%.
Right. Trustive isn't asking companies to give away their margins.
But that remaining 20 to 40% is placed into a human benefit pool. And to be clear, this isn't paid out in speculative crypto tokens. It is converted into tangible, enforceable benefits for the employees.
Correct. There are three main categories. Tea time, which is protected time off.
So, literally giving people their time back.
Yes, through shorter hours or recurring focus blocks that managers cannot secretly reclaim. Then there's tea social, which converts saved time into paid days for volunteering.
Oh, that's nice.
And tea learning, which provides funded rescaling and AI literacy credits.
That is fantastic for employees whose jobs are simply made more efficient. But we have to look at the elephant in the room here.
Yeah, the displacement.
A business leader listening right now knows that some automation will inevitably lead to headcount reduction. Protected time off does absolutely nothing for a worker who just received a layoff notice. How does Trustive handle actual job displacement?
If a system ignores displacement, it is just ethics washing. Trustive tackles this head-on with the T-Bridge framework.
What is T-Bridge?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, T-Bridge is a ring-fenced, enforceable transition guarantee. A mandatory slice of that verified benefit pool is legally carved out to fund transition support before any separation event occurs.
Wait, let me make sure I'm getting this. The transition money for the displaced worker is generated by the very AI efficiency that caused the displacement in the first place.
Exactly. It is capitalism funding its own safety net through audited math.
That's pretty wild.
T-Bridge mandates a redeployment-first approach, funding internal placement efforts. If separation is unavoidable, it guarantees extended rescaling and transition runways.
Okay.
And crucially, to maintain their public certification, the organization must fully disclose these displacement impacts. They cannot hide role reductions behind a PR campaign about responsible AI.
But labour laws are vastly different globally. I mean, in a strong labour environment, say a works council regime in Germany, you can easily embed T-Bridge into a collective agreement.
Sure.
But what if you were operating in a jurisdiction with very weak labour protections or at-will employment, where a guaranteed bridge payment might not be legally enforceable? Does the whole system break down?
No. Trustive accounts for that with the T-Learning Express track.
How does the Express track work?
In those constrained jurisdictions, the enterprise must commit a defined verifier checked monetary budget per affected worker toward front-loaded, portable rescaling and placement support.
Okay, so they still have to pay out.
Yes, it ensures that even where the law is weak, the financial commitment to the displaced worker is real, audited, and paid out.
Right.
However, there is a catch. Using this express track caps the organization's public certification level. They cannot achieve the highest gold T-cert without binding representative agreements.
So what does this all mean for you, the business leader listening right now?
Yeah, what's the bottom line?
Implementing an 8 to 12 week Trustive pilot does two massive things for your organization. Internally, it gets you out of the trap of relying on employee surveys.
Thank goodness.
It gives you a rigorous, cryptographically secure, mathematically sound way to prove your AI ROI is real and your quality isn't slipping.
Yes.
Externally, it earns you a public T-cert. That is a verified trust signal that you are sharing the gains fairly and handling displacement honestly.
Which is huge.
That T-cert becomes a massive asset for attracting top talent, navigating vendor risk procurement, and proving compliance to regulators.
It replaces vague marketing promises with audited proof. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises an important question for the future. Something for you to mull over as your own enterprise AI capabilities grow.
What's that?
As LLMs and AI agents become more sophisticated, they will inevitably become capable of doing the actual verification and auditing themselves.
Oh, wow.
When that happens, who audits the AI auditor? Will a system like Trustive eventually need a dedicated human gate, like a mandatory human-in-the-loop requirement, just to verify the AI that is verifying the AI?
That is a fascinating thought experiment. The technology is moving blindingly fast, but the need for human trust remains the absolute bedrock of business. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. As you look at your own organization this week, think back to those developers from the 2020 METR study. Ask yourself, are my teams actually 20% faster, or do they just feel like it? And more importantly, if they are faster, how are we proving it without guessing? And who's really benefiting from that saved time?